Some things are simply worth repeating. And I've been thinking really a lot about this lately. I've been thinking about my attachment to vinyl records and what makes them special. It's not nostalgia or sentimentality. I mean, I've heard that before. And I've even kind of said that before. And maybe that's true for some folks and a little bit also true for me. But old music formats really don't do much for me. I never cared for cassettes. Actually, I hated cassettes. And I know that that's going to piss some people off, but I'm sorry, I hated cassettes. I kind of still do. And as far as CDs go, I sold all my CDs years ago. I mean, if you handed me a CD today, I'd have no way to play it. I don't own a CD player. I don't even think the CD player in my truck works. I think there's a CD stuck in it. Anyway, I don't play CDs. I don't even own a VCR. I stream all my movies. So why don't I stream music? I mean, that's available and it's convenient and it goes with you everywhere. But for me, when it comes to records, there is something Zen-like about it. Now, I bought this particular record, Neil Young's Harvest, back in the 1980s, and I haven't listened to it for a while, so I think I'll probably listen to it tonight and, revisit it. But it did make me think a lot. I was looking at my collection recently, and I was thinking, why? What is it about the records that moves me? Why do I always find myself drawn back to them? Well, it's two things, and I've narrowed it down to two things: ritual and escape. I could probably add a third thing and add music to that list, but that goes without saying. And there's also many different ways to listen to music. For me, it's really this way. And it always has been. And I've talked about this a little bit before, but when I was a teenager, I was insecure, and a lot of teenagers are, but I was extremely insecure. I was shy. I was introverted. I was a little bit lost, and I found an escape in music. But I also read a lot. So I read a lot of books and I listened to music, and I owned a few records, but records were really just a thing. I listened to the radio a lot. And then I bought this record. This is Blue Oyster Cult's Some Enchanted Evening. I was probably 13, maybe 12 or 13 years old when I bought this record. Now, there is a story behind this record, and maybe I'll talk about it someday on this channel. I think I've talked about it in the newsletter. But there was something special about this record when I brought it home. And this is the exact one that I put on my turntable all those decades ago. And whatever it was, I could not stop listening to this record. I listened to it constantly. I listened to WBCN out of Boston at the time, and I began to take notice of the music in a way I hadn't before. I also began to buy a lot of records, and yes, admittedly, at the time, they were an escape. Some kids I went to school with smoked pot or, did other things. My escape was music, specifically records. Now, I won't get into my entire history with records. I think I've done that before here. But I will say that for me, every record has a story. If you pulled out any record out of my collection, I could probably 99% of the time tell you something about that record. I could probably tell you why I bought it, what I was feeling when I bought it, and how it affected me when I bought it. How did it influence my life? What about it was special? Now, this particular record, Rod Stewart's Every Picture Tells a Story. Well, for me, every record tells a story. Listening to records now, at my age, I'm 57, is about mindfulness. It's about the ritual. It's comforting. Each step is deliberate, from selecting an album, removing it from its sleeve, and lowering the stylus onto the record. I said Zen-like earlier, and it is. It's mindful engagement. My day job is in IT. I've been in IT for the last 25 years of my career, and digital is in my professional life, and it's also in my personal life. And I even have designed and developed iPhone apps for vinyl record lovers, and I sell those on the App Store. So I'm not opposed to technology in any way, shape, or form. But when it comes to records, it's different. I said this to Mandy the other day. We were talking about my joy of records and music, and we were actually clearing space to handle overflow records. And I said to her that for me, listening to music on vinyl is like going to church for some people. There is peace in presence in the ritual. Now, I'm not going to get into the sound here. I'm not going to say that, vinyl records are warmer. I'm not going to say that they are more personal than streaming music. And I'm not going to get into, saying that, analog or vinyl's better than digital, which I'm really not sure it is. It's something more than that. Now, it's special, not only to me, but to a whole new generation of folks, probably some watching right now, who want to own the music that they listen to and support the bands that they love. There's something great about holding that music in their hands, reading the liner notes, and appreciating the artwork. I'm really thrilled and I'm comforted that vinyl sales have risen over the last few years, and that companies are making and selling turntables. I don't care how old I get. I know how this record was made, from the master disc to the stamper to the vinyl pellets to how it was pressed. It still amazes me that the groove on this record can hold as much information as it does. It's magic. That the very structure of the groove, by dragging a diamond-tipped needle through it, can actually produce music that was recorded this year or even 70 years ago. Now, this record right here, this Johnny Ace record, this is an old one, and this contains Johnny Ace's voice singing Pledging My Love. Elvis, in fact, did a great version of Pledging My Love on his final record, Moody Blue. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Johnny Ace died playing Russian roulette. Now, I think of that every time I play this album, and his voice is forever preserved here. If a solar flare, say, wiped out the electrical grid tomorrow, there will still be ways to play this record and to hear Johnny Ace's voice. Streaming services, CDs, and really everything digital will be gone. And it's really not that far-fetched to think about. Now, I'm not trying to make a case to go out and buy records in the instance that a solar flare comes along and wipes out everything. What I am saying is owning music is special to me, and it's special to a lot of other folks. It's funny, even after all this time, I still find records to buy. I still find music to listen to on vinyl, and I still get that little, I would say it's a little dopamine hit every time a record shows up on my porch. And I talked a little bit about dopamine hits in another video, but the same thing holds true with records. You remember the Columbia Record and Tape Club? I used to love flipping through that little catalog that came every month to pick a record out. Anyway, I still find records to buy. As a matter of fact, just the other day, this one showed up. Who's Next by, The Who. I've owned this record in the past. Back in 1981, when Face Dances came out, I bought an early copy of this, or early to me. And then I was watching Skunky Design's channel, and Steffi mentioned that the music on vinyl version of this record is one of the best she'd ever heard. So I had to replace my old one that was over 4 decades old. And I think this one uses the 1995 John Astley remaster or remix, but it sounds amazing. So I have this to listen to this week, and I can't wait. But first, it has to be cleaned. And I recently did a video about my insane record cleaning process. You can check that out, or also in the description, I have a booklet that I put together about my cleaning process. But all that being said, it's another ritual, and I enjoy that process, as nutty as it is and as OCD as it seems. Music has been a constant in my life, and in some ways, I would say it even saved my life. And I can think of no better way to honor that or preserve it than to press it into a record. And really, that's about it. That's what I wanted to talk about today. And if any of this resonated with you, hit like and subscribe. It does help the channel. And I also have a weekly newsletter. It's free to join. It comes out on Saturdays. There's a link in the description with that as well. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, take care of yourself and enjoy your records. I'll see you soon.